Welcome to Sunday School, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about our next ornament on our Jesse tree. So Father Marshall will be telling us a little bit about the story of Adam and Eve, and then we'll take a look at our ornaments. And remember, you can hang these ornaments on your Jesse tree, whether that's in your house or outside. And if you do, share your pictures with us. We'd love to see them. So Father Marshall, can you tell us the story of Adam and Eve?
So the story of Adam and Eve is that when God made human beings, God made them from earth. And earth in ancient Hebrew is Adam. We think of it as sort of dusty, clay, kind of muddy texture. And he took that and God took that and God fashioned it into God's own image, and then huffed into its nostril and breathed into it the breath of life, which the breath of God is called ruach. And when God breathes, it gives life. And so the thing became a human being, a knowing soul, but it was all alone. And God sensed that it could not find a partner for itself anywhere. It was missing something. So God then formed another human to walk with it. And the first human, God called Adam, and the second one, God called Eve. We know them as man and woman now, but remember that this was before people knew the difference. This was just human beings. They were companions. Well, they had this beautiful garden to walk around in, and everything that they could find, they were allowed to eat, except from one tree. And that was the tree of the knowledge, and the fruit of it was the knowledge of good and evil. God said you can have of any other tree, but you can't have that one. And one day, a serpent, who was a very crafty animal, said to Eve, God doesn't want you to have it, because if you eat it, then you'll be like God, and you'll know good from evil, and you'll have that knowledge. And so Eve says, well, I want that, even though God said no. And she eats it. And then she gives some to Adam, and Adam eats it. And then they realize that they're naked, that they don't wear clothes, that there's something that they're aware of, they fall short of. We call that sin. And in their sin, they hide from God. And God goes looking for them and can't find them, which is unusual because that's never happened before. And God says, where are you? And Adam cries out, we're hiding because we're naked. Who told you were naked? The servant gave us fruit to eat, and we realized we were naked. The knowledge of good and evil. So this is sometimes called the fall, but really in many ways you can understand that this is when human beings sort of completed their creation, because we realized we were apart from God. Now the downside is that with that fall, we're apart from God. And God actually had asked the human beings to leave the garden that God had created. And we couldn't go back. And so this journey that we're taking, trying to get back to God, and the journey that God has in trying to call us home, has been going on ever since. And so we remember that with that piece of fruit. Often people refer to it as an apple. It wasn't an apple. It was probably a pomegranate, but call it an apple. So, and I understand you drew.
So yeah, I drew something. So again, I just drew a little circle of paper and I put a hole in it, and I drew a fruit tree. You can decide whether those are apples or pomegranates, whatever you like.
And my cutout ornament that I'm doing again is the one with the serpent and the apple. Christina, there's a funny story. I grew up in a town in Ohio that actually had apple trees from Johnny Appleseed.
Wow.
There was a little park around the corner from my house, and we could walk up there, and there were apples growing from the apple trees. Now, those weren't the actual apple trees that Johnny Appleseed planted, but according to town legend, they were the descendants of apple trees that he did. And I remember that the apples were very, very tart.
Yes, I feel like the ones I remember we had apple trees in our backyard growing up, and I think they were Granny Smiths, so they were very tart.
So that kind of ends our second ornament. So you can put that on your
Yeah.
tree. And do you want to give a sneak preview, Christina, of what our next ornament is for next week?
Sure, yeah. So tune in tomorrow, right, for our next ornament and to hear our next story. Our next story, I believe, is the story, one that we've heard already through our Sunday school lessons. Isn't that right? We've heard the story of the ark and Noah.
When the rain doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.